Welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report, and this is Dr. Bill Deagle. We're having Bobby Walton. Bobby, welcome back to the program.
Hi there, Dr. Bill. Thanks for having me today. How are you?
With a pause there, I thought, I hope you're not trying to swallow your Alamax with a big glass of our Sports Energy Light or something, and that's why you couldn't answer for 4 seconds.
No, sorry. I was taking a sip, but yeah, that's not what it was. Anyway,
a sip of tea or something. Wonderful. I'm just kidding you. Anyway, so now one of the most important things that people don't realize. I was watching a program. Have you ever watched The Big Picture with Cal Pan? Cal Pan, who's on DirecTV. This guy's brilliant, and he's a fantastic communicator. And I laugh my head off from beginning to end. I'm also scared to death by what he says, because he tells you technology stuff and spreading. One of the latest ones is going viral, and it's a 30-minute program. And if you actually go online, or if you can get the video from the people at DirecTV or whatever, this is a video to watch. And what it means is going viral in terms of the spread of viruses. And they talked about the amount of staff. How many staff do you think the CDC has? The Center for Disease Control has across America?
I'm not sure about that.
38,000.
Okay.
And they have, labs all over the place, level 3 and 4 labs, and they were doing, down in Los Alamos, they're doing a simulation with supercomputers, how to actually see the spread. So they showed a map, say, of Portland, and how it would spread if it went through a plume of a bioweapon released by a terrorist, or just a spread of someone with a new novel version. There's a new novel versions of Clostridium difficile that's out now. We've got a new resistant form of TB, resistant Staph aureus, resistant tuberculosis. I mean, it goes on and on and on, all these different bugs. And now we have animals that are acting as vectors for H5N1. Some of them contain some of the receptor binding genes that can attach to humans. It's crazy. Chikungunya now is spreading up from literally last year it was in the Caribbean, now it's up in New York State. We have, and it's only a matter of time before we have a major plague. I would say it's probably months away rather than years before we have a major plague. And they were even saying about, we don't have SARS back. No, you're wrong, Cal. This is my area of expertise. We have SARS-2, which is out of control completely in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and those Arab countries. It's already way out of control, and there's index cases now in Germany and France and elsewhere. So I tell people, this is not an option anymore. You're living in a different world. This is not your grandmother or your mother or even 2 years ago world. It's 2015. This is the year when major plagues are going to leap forward and not only get your kitty cats and your duggies, but you. And not only that, there'll be stealth organisms that won't get you one big bite. There'll be new forms of cytomegalovirus and Epstein-Barr virus and so on, and new variants. You need to be taking Alamax every day. I tell you, I take it. I give it to my daughter. My wife takes it. And whether you're trying to stop the nanobacteria in your teeth so you don't get periodontal disease and cavities, or you don't want to have a stealth virus start an active inflammation in your brain or cause heart disease or a plaque, everyone needs to be taking Alamax and Alamed. What do you hear? What stories are you hearing?
Hey there, basically it's just, people are always looking for something that's going to make themselves feel better. I just had a customer on the phone who's been taking our products for a couple of years, and her package is, on way or lost in the post office, and she's a little frantic because it's just her daily supplement, and she says it's the only thing that makes her feel well. It keeps her, immune system protected, keeps her healthy. And, she really just said, she's like, I've tried things all over, but, this one is probably one of the best antimicrobials that I've had. Kids are taking it for cold, flu, sinuses, children, babies, pets, elderly. People call me and, they tell me how, relieved they are to have something that's so amazing, that's so natural. The Allison, the Allimax capsules, 180 milligrams a day, and just, how it makes them, be able to, not miss work for silly instances of being sick. We've basically gotten through the cold flu season here, in Chicago, and coming into spring hay fever allergy time. But, as you just mentioned, Dr. Bill, this is something that everybody should be taking one every day. I take mine every day. I have been taking it every day for years. It's one a day is going to keep the doctor away. One a day is going to keep you out of the ICU. So if you really want to try to stay healthy, then, get your Alamax. It's conditions as small as, toenail fungus or allergies, like I mentioned, up to, more severe things that people, can get, like MRSA or other forms of staph or Lyme disease or, C. difficile. So it really is, an all-around, all-natural product that's going to work on any, bacteria, fungus, and virus. It's not something to specifically, pinpoint and target necessarily to just one condition that you may or may be experiencing.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, it's important that people understand that when you're doing this, you're doing beneficial things. For example, one of the things we discovered is that years ago, when we started giving people Alamax, is they said, gee, my joints don't hurt. Like, whoa, what do you mean? And then, of course, having all my background in immunology, toxicology, infectious disease, going back, almost 4 decades, I went back, I got it. If I was to measure their cytokine levels in their blood or their joints, if I was to do a synovial analysis, which I did in research in medical school in the synovial analysis immunology lab, I would look and say, their pyrotoxin levels and their cytokine levels in their joints are reduced, and therefore they're not ripping their joints apart, and so their joints don't hurt. Their connective tissues and their capsules of the joints are okay. The same way as their lungs. If they're taking Alamax and they get chronic lung disease or asthma, and they'd say, well, why is their asthma less? Well, they have rhinovirus subclass 3 in their bronchi and the respiratory bronchiole basket cells. And now that we're killing off the pathogens and their opportunistic bacteria, like the gunk that's in their expanded basket cells in their bronchi, and their cilia have been sheared off by chronic inflammation, so they didn't have ciliary blanket. Now we get rid of the pathogens, the cilia grow, so the ciliary blanket's moving up the bronchi, pushed down the back of the throat. We, by the way, swallow 1.5 liters to 2 liters of mucus every day from our lungs that goes through our GI tract. And if you don't have the mucus blanket being moved by healthy cilia because you haven't removed the pathogens, the inflammation shears off the cilia, and you don't have a mucillary blanket, so you build up pathogens, and then you end up with chronic obstructive lung disease, damage to alveoli, loss of ability to transport oxygen to your bloodstream, etc. So everything we're talking about, same with the bowel. If you've got chronic dysbiosis in your gut, you're going to have leaky gut, you're going to get food allergies. Those food allergies can actually cross into your blood. For example, most people don't realize there's a cross-reactive antibody between bread, the gliadin fraction of wheat gluten, and the amino acid sequence of the S100 protein in your brain, which can cause Alzheimer's disease. So you don't connect it, but as you're taking Alamax, your food allergies will go away. As you're taking Alamax, the nanobacteria that can oxidize with free iron and heavy metals in your artery walls, fatty acids to form plaque, and when these little oxidized globules of cholesterol and fatty acids are present, the monocytes or macrophages, called big eater cells, eat them, die, and become foam cells and form plaque, layer of fibrin, platelets, dead monocyte, or we call it foam cell. So in other words, there's so many benefits from taking Alamax, it's hard to list. You have chronic acne. Well, you got basically a dysbiosis at the bottom of your shaft of your hair follicle and your sebaceous glands. So a major cause is the growth of toxigenic bacteria that can convert fatty acids to inflammatory fatty acids to produce comedos and we call a septic, if you want to call it, abscess, where the sebaceous gland is. That's what acne is. So there's lots and lots of benefits people don't see right away. And when we were giving Alamax, we were thinking, well, we want to stop sinus infections and periodontal infections and things like that. But we didn't realize we're affecting every body system you can imagine. Even if somebody's getting balding and they've got a chronic tinea capitis fungus in their scalp, it's killing off the fungus. We had people that start taking this and I can't believe it, Doc. My toenail fungus is going after 20 years wearing Texas boots. I'm saying, what are you doing? He said, well, I didn't put anything in my toes. I just took it by mouth. I said, it's going to get to your toes if you take it by mouth. Pretty amazing, eh?
Very.
And funny, too. Take your Alamax and Alameda. And welcome back to the program. We have Tom Strader here from MG12. Tom, I'd like you to run down for the different products because I am absolutely in love with all these products. I mean, I think they're the level of quality on the outside of the body as our Nutrimed products are on the inside, which means they're all 7-star. Whether it's the deodorant, the shampoo, the soap, the Magna soap, the sports products and so on, the oils, everything is fantastic. And the reason is they're going to remineralize your body, they're going to detoxify your body, they're going to support regeneration of your tissues, and as I say, you need to work from the outside in with the MG12 products as well as we're working the inside out with Nutrimeds. So tell us all about the product line and exactly why you developed each product, and give us the reason why it's so superior, because you have 14 minerals in the magnesium products. They're not just like, Epsom salts. This is magnesium chloride with the 14 trace minerals that are present in Dead Sea that are not present even in the open oceans, that are in our bodies. These 14 trace minerals, they're necessary for metabolic processes and turning on genes. So give us a background of each product. We know your testimonial from previous shows about how it literally saved your life and literally stopped you from having another heart attack. When we have athletes that stop having muscle cramps, people stop having atrial fibrillation, people stop having seizures, mood problems, detoxification like crazy if they've been a firefighter and they're exposed to tons of things. The 9/11 detox program, do you ever hear about that program? I was involved with that, by the way. And it was a California university here and people in New York. And I was advising them on what types of things they needed to use. We were talking about infrared sauna and other things. But the most important thing is you got to have topicals on your body to remineralize as you're pulling out the heavy metals, because there were heavy metals and radiotoxins, and to get all the chemicals out, because there are a lot of dioxins and dibenzofurans and xenoestrogens in your body. And if you don't remineralize and use the essential oils on the outside in, you can't get well. So give us a list of some of the main products and why they're so fantastic.
Well, Dr. Bill, I'll start off with the Dead Sea minerals. That's where it all starts. We import the minerals from Israel. We take the Dead Sea minerals and then we infuse them with water and take them through a proprietary process to produce our magnesium oil. To tell you how dense they are, the magnesium oil is, a gallon of magnesium oil weighs 1.35 pounds heavier than a gallon of water. And it's, as you said, it's not just the magnesium chloride, but it's all the other 20 essential minerals and 14 that uniquely found in the Dead Sea that are combined in the Dead Sea minerals that we provide. We also take our Dead Sea minerals after we have the magnesium oil. We compound that with essential oils and arnica, and we infuse arnica into the essential oil and put that into our Magna Sport product. Arnica is really good for anti-inflammatory, bruising, swelling. It promotes healing. If you look at magnesium and how its healing process is, one of the major things is it's a vasodilator. It dilates the blood vessels. It gets them to where the blood is flowing strongly. What a lot of the headaches and migraines that people are having are attributed to restricted blood flow where the blood vessels constrict. Magnesium is the major muscle relaxer. It's the master mineral. It's the master key to unlock the key to all the other, or unlock the lock of all the other minerals to work synergistically with magnesium. Without magnesium, our bodies will die. It's the most vital mineral that our body needs. Calcium, which we're getting in just about everything that we consume, constricts the muscles, and magnesium relaxes. If you'll take your hand and make the fist, which is about the size of your heart, you squeeze it, the squeezing ability is through calcium. The release is the pumping action from magnesium. The pumping action is constriction, relaxation. Constriction, relaxation. Calcium, magnesium. Calcium, magnesium. And the reason a lot of people are having cramps and spasms is the lack of magnesium in their bodies, but the major muscle of the body is the heart. And that was what happened with me when I had a heart attack at age 40. My heart constricted, it spasmed and cramped, and I was cramped off a small blood vessel on the back side of the heart. The cardiologist told me when he did the exam, he told me, he said, you're very fortunate when he did the heart catheterization that it was a very small artery on the back side. So, Dr. Bill, they waited till after I had a heart attack before they started me on a magnesium drip. Wonder why that most physicians don't tell you up front, hey, if you take magnesium, you can avoid a lot of these heart attacks.
Right. In fact, I just had a recent consult. It's a perfect example. And there was an elderly lady, and they gave her a whole series of drugs like amiodarone, which is incredibly toxic, pacerone. They did a serum magnesium on her, which was kind of marginal. But again, serum magnesium, your body will draw pewter to pay Paul. It doesn't mean your total heart magnesium is level. Your serum magnesium is not a total reflectant. That's why the QRMA test is so helpful. The next test up is called a packed red cell test. That'll tell you if your levels of magnesium. But the best test is the QRMA test, or the ADLRS. I like the QRMA because it actually measures functional levels in different organ systems. And what happens is, as you get supernormal levels, not just normal, but supernormal levels of magnesium, both orally with our magnesium glycinate, malonate, our brain mag, and our magnesium taurate, magnesium potassium citrate, you have to have the topical to get that level up and keep it there, because whenever your body is stressed with anything, it uses up magnesium. The best single measure of stress in your body is to measure the number of magnesium ions in your urine every day. So if you were to actually graph out the number of ions of magnesium, you could ask someone after looking at their chart, did you have this stressful thing happen on last Thursday? And you'd see a peak. That peak would tell you that something bad happened. They got bad news. They went through a stressful travel. They had a major, stressful event happen in their life. Maybe they went through a surgical procedure. But when they're dumping magnesium, it's a measure of stress. So if you don't replace that, you can't get rid of what's called hydroxyl free radical. You can't remyelinate. You can't rebuild the DNA. You can't make your stem cells work. You can't respond to any stress. Your adrenal glands can't even release the hormones. Your thyroid doesn't work to create energy. And nothing works if you lose magnesium. And what magnesium does acts as a counterion to turn off calcium. So inside the cell, there's 10,000 magnesium ions for every 1 calcium. And that's why taking things like calcium channel blockers is so stupid and dangerous, because you damage the ion channels that literally keep calcium out or allow it to come in, do its job, and get the heck out of there. Calcium is like hiring a hitman to come into the cells and do a certain job, or a special engineer, and then you got to get him out of the factory, or he's going to start messing around with different things in your factory, and your factory is going to go kaflooey. The magnesium is the buffer to turn things off, to cool things down, to shut off the things that are turned on by calcium. And if you don't have enough magnesium, too, you can't even form bone. Bone is calcium ions 2 for every 1 magnesium. So it's so important. And all the other trace elements present in the MG12 products, ionic, they're not in your soil. They're not in your veggies, even if you have organic veggies. So when you get them on your skin, and then I tell people to take Indiamese morning and night, but when you get them on your skin, you're going to absorb ionic minerals you're not going to have in your diet. They're just not there. That's how important this is. It is the Sabbath Mineral Company is what your company should be called. Sabbath Minerals. I don't know. It says the tagline. MG12. And welcome back. And we will be having, of course, talking about, in the next, we can get a hold of Bob Binyard, our expert on water. And, of course, I met Bob a number of years ago at one of our Academy meetings of environmental medicine. I think it was in probably Las Vegas or Phoenix. And I was looking at water systems. We had previously been using other systems we were marketing. And when I looked at the spec sheets for the water systems that Bob carries, I thought, why do people think that they're drinking water that's clean because it tastes good? It's almost like, why do people think when they go to their doctor, if I don't have symptoms, I must be healthy? No, the absence of symptoms doesn't mean you're well. It means you may be significantly out of balance and developing serious health problems, but it's under the surface, which is why people are surprised when they go into the doctor and say, you got cancer, you got a blocked artery, you're developing cataracts, you're diabetic, because a lot of the symptoms are not present until you have a full-blown pathology. So that's how important this is for people to understand that that there's serious issues that are going on here. And I tell people that one of the things that's really important that people understand is that don't second guess this. I hear a lot of people are listening to other commercials, and they think, well, because they're on your show, Dr. Deagle, you must be endorsing them. I do not endorse any products except ours. And I want you to stick to our nutraceuticals, because you're going to get well if we're able to give you feedback and say, you took our nutraceuticals, you didn't take a second best or third best or 10th best, you took the right combination, you drank clean water that wasn't through a Berkey or some other system, you had a system that would remove, not with distillation where even GPF, jet fuel, and other volatile components will end up in even a distillate, and it'll be like an energy vampire. You use water systems that were pure. If you use our code Nutrimed when you go to our login to our water system website, you're going to get 10% off. That's amazing. The best cost for filtration replacements, it's amazing. The system for the Bev 100, Bev 200 systems is a tackle box, 100 countertop, 300 whole host systems. You just cannot beat it. And these systems, I'll tell you, you maintain them, you flush them every week or two by just turning the valves and flushing the filter systems. It has a linear charcoal system. It has the best sedimentation filtration system. Then it goes for the top grade RO membrane possible. Then it has an ion exchange resin. And then finally it has a final stage to add back in, because there's only water molecules left, calcium, magnesium ions to bring the pH to 10. But there is no comparison whatsoever. And I tell people that if you want to get well, follow our recommendations and don't deviate. You're not going to do better than here at Nutrimedical. And the same goes with the spiritual issue. We bring on top experts like this program this week. We had a great expert on miracles, Daniel Fazina. We bring on other experts. In fact, I just was in the process of emailing one of our new prospective, you call ministers, that's going to come on the program to talk about, how to, spiritually deal with just daily life. So, that's important for people to understand what's going on, and that you can stay well, but you have to understand what's happening. For example, let me go back to some of our nutriments. I'll give you an idea of some of our other nutriments that we carry. Silver 100, by the way, we always have sales on. This is amazing stuff. The Silver 100 is the only ionic silver in the world. Do not get and think it's comparable to Dr. Len Horowitz's silver. It's not. They have fancy marketing, hoo-ha, blah, blah. It's not the case, okay? These people are not chemists. They do not understand this. This is the only stable citrate complex in the world. It is not. Do not get a home silver lungs generator to make your own silver. Do not get gallon jugs of this stuff, because it can turn you blue. Use Silver 100, which is the ionic state of silver that will kill the pathogens at hundreds of times stronger dose effect. So little tiny sprays or drops is all you need. So you can put it in your eye for eye care. You can spray it on your skin to turn off burns or infections. You can take it in your nose for the vertical nasal spray. You can do the other sprays for your lungs that literally turn off asthma, even in the middle of an attack. It can protect you from major pathogens. It's just amazing. And because there's no even toxic taste to it or color, it's just amazing. You can put it in a baby's eyes, for example. We, of course, have the other websites. Of course, we have our documentary DVDs and PowerPoints and so on. These DVDs, CDs, etc. are available. Previous conferences, they're available if you ever check out that section of the website. We have, of course, the people that want to get a hyperbaric chamber. We have new prices now. Some of the chambers are down as low than $4,000 to get a new chamber. And they have companies that will give you a time payment, so that if you're saying, well, I want to get one of those, but I can't afford it, you don't need to worry. You can get, spread over 3 to 5 years and get a chamber at a tremendously reduced price. I talked to a gentleman the other day, and he says, I have a number of relatives here that need to get hyperbaric therapy in our home or our community. And I said, look, this can not only be a write-off against your health insurance and against your taxes, but you can actually get a time payment so you can afford to do this. We have, of course, our links to less EMF, and if you're wanting to get radiation detectors, I keep on getting people asking about that. I'm going to try to bring back our experts on Emile de Toffel, who's a DDS dentist and a master's engineering PhD level in engineering, electrical engineering, as well as the top expert, I think, in North America on technology for measuring everything from electro pollution, radio smog, scalar radiation, ultraviolet light, UVA, B, C, D. I mean, all the technologies to block it, less EMF. We have our preparing companies, too, on our products page, PrepareWise, which will not only give you some of the best prepared foods and emergency equipment, including medical storage equipment, etc. And the PrepareWise foods I consider, basically probably the best, largest size dehydrated, gluten-free, and non-GMO foods. And on the Ready Store, also excellent foods, but they also have a lot of emergency equipment, medical supplies, survival supplies, top prepper store. So PrepareWise and the Ready Store are referrals that we recommend. Don't go elsewhere. You're going to get the best prices and the best portions and the best medical equipment there. We have some clearance products. People have been asking about things like a colon cleanse. We had one of the emails this morning. What you need to understand is when we're discontinuing a product from our main page, it means that if you special order it, that means we will order, say, a minimum of 6 at a time. We can get it in. Now, there's no getting an extra container because we're special ordering it, and we will give you free shipping on it, and you'll get a good price. But when we discontinue a product, we don't have that flavor again or a specific product. We can special order it for you, but you have to understand that when we discontinue, say, a flavor, let's say the chocolate mint version of glycemics, if you want it, you have to order a minimum of 6 to get that product, and there's no 6 plus 1. That's not on their specials. They're discontinued products. We have to special order them to have a special batch made up to do that. So you have to be aware of that. And looking at some of our other amazing nutraceuticals, and I was talking about this the other day in terms of supplements we're working on. Posinol, excellent for mood stabilization. Recidival hair tonic for reversing balding. Besides our Minerals Plus, the best form of selenium and chromium are selenium cruciferate and chromium cruciferate developed at Johns Hopkins University. Serafluzyme, which is a serapeptase enzyme from silkworms. It's a fibrinolytic for getting rid of scars, interfascial adhesions. We have the silkworm enzyme combined with the Wobenzym N formula in our Inflamex, but if you want just the straight serafluzyme, we have 100 tablets at an excellent price of $22.95. We have the Spilkis, which is Yiddish for anxiolytic muscle relaxant. It's calcium, magnesium, and taurate. It's excellent. We have Sphingolin, which is myelin sheath extract. So whether it's peripheral or central nerves, Swedish flower pollen for bladder function, Synaptin for boosting your brain and memory function. We add it to the Cognition Plus Brain Power Synaptin now. And of course, uridine monophosphate, CDP choline, and uridine, which is triacyleuridine for mitochondrial function. So, I mean, we have an amazing array of Nutrimeds now for virtually any health condition you can imagine. Back in a moment. Your question's 800-259-5791. And welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report, and we have for read from Cardiovasc, which is our new name for our product, Cardiovasc, Cardiovisc. I want people to understand just how important this is. I had a consult, talked to the gentleman this morning. He's been on our QRMA for some time. He looks actually doing really well, although I gave him a specific list of nutraceuticals he needs. And right at the top of the list for protection of his heart, he's 53-year-old Hispanic male, he needs to be on Cardiovasc. I really think, this is my viewpoint, that every adult over 20 needs to be started on Cardiovasc. And the reason why is because the thing that's going to kill you more likely than the next 5 major classes of cause of death is vascular disease. And even other diseases like cancer is always related to hypoxic conditions and microcirculatory problems, chronic degenerative conditions, for example, like chronic lung disease. Cerebral conditions like Alzheimer's is microcirculatory, micrometabolism. Literally, circulation is king. And I'm looking at technology. We have a more advanced device that I can obtain for you if you want one, called a biomicroscope to look at nail fold thickness through a microscope to actually look at your circulation. I want to get a portable one, and I'm searching around to try to find the very best technology that will be available or help develop it. So that people can actually check their circulation, because blood pressure, you can get zillions of blood pressure machines, does not measure circulation. What is blood pressure? Blood pressure is your heart trying to compensate for poor circulation, basically. That's to summarize. So if your blood pressure is elevated, it means your heart's saying, hey, I'm not getting enough perfusion. Now, what Cardiovite does is it preserves perfusion. When you overtreat, for example, blood pressure in someone over 60, and this is the American Cardiology Association decided last year from research from killing people or causing them to shut down their brain and their kidneys, that it's a bad thing to overtreat blood pressures below 160 over 90 in people over 60. And this is a very large study, so it's well proven. The problem I see is that people don't understand just how catastrophic this is for the medical model. They don't also look at the fact of what causes plaque. Plaque is caused by oxidative stress in the artery walls, by nanobacteria that are present there, by oxidized cholesterol, which forms 9-noronyl hydroxycholesterol. Cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease, but if it's oxidized, it's bad. And fatty acids, if they're oxidized, can form globules that your macrophages or big eater cells eat and die and form foam cells. So whether it's microcirculation to improve your blood vessels, because remember your blood vessels pump the blood, or protection against plaque or preserving brain function. We have people that take cardiovasc, and they say, I can't believe it, my brain works better. I can't believe it, I took my cardiovasc and I can walk further. My claudication in my leg, even though my doctor said I got a blocked 90% artery in my leg, then they go back and do a NEVA study or an ultrasound or an arteriogram 6 months later and say, my gosh, my arteries opened up. How'd that happen? Well, you supported metabolism so the body could heal itself and get rid of the plaque. That's how amazing this is. And if you've already had a stent and your doctor's kind of waving the scalpel at you that he's going to pop your chest open and do a multi-level bypass, you start on cardiovasc, you take our Omega Supreme, Supernox and Gamma E+, and you're going to avoid the knife. But we've had people just take the cardiovasc alone, which we call Cardivite, and they've avoided major vascular surgery to their legs or their heart or carotid artery surgery because they have plaque building up in the artery ready to throw an embolus off. So it's pretty amazing, isn't it, for Reed? It's really, what your dad's formula saved a lot of people from a lot of grief or death.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go through some of the components of it. And a better living, yeah, exactly. And also preventing disease. I mean, you mentioned before you gave your testimony, you're diabetic. You've been on it forever, and you don't have complications. And you do your physical fitness tests, and you probably outshine people that are non-diabetic and say, well, what are you taking? I mean, this is a typical story of the conventional doctors that don't have training in functional medicine. Whatever you're taking, keep taking it. And they don't necessarily want to ask what it is, but they know you're taking something that's making you remarkably better. Whether you've got congestive heart failure, hypertension, just decreased brain perfusion, you got marginal kidney function, you're down to 25% or 20%, or you're already on dialysis. Well, one of the steps to get back off dialysis, besides taking that and vein away and other things to improve kidney function using stem cell therapy, etc., is you need to be on cardiovasc. So let's go through some of the components so people can know how powerful this is.
Sure. Well, one of the most important components of cardiovasc is hawthorn. And we actually use a hawthorn that is European grown, and it's a leaf and flower extract. And that's somewhat contrary to what people have been told about hawthorn. A lot of people think it's berries, and a lot of people think that you can get it from anywhere in the world. Well, no, you can't, because the studies that have been done for the purpose of cardiovascular benefit have been done on the European-grown hawthorn and a leaf and flower extract. And we specifically have tested it for a marker compound called vitexin, which indicates the overall quality of the herb. So.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the important thing is that the vitexin is going to stimulate cardiac contraction in the mitochondria. There are other components that balance the autonomic nervous system, components that actually will stop plaque, like the aged garlic, components that are going to act as a natural ACE inhibitor. In other words, each component targets specific things, detoxification of the body. Let's go through some of the other components.
So, yeah, you mentioned the aged garlic extract. We have it standardized to 1% allicin, and we test it using a high-pressure liquid chromatography to make sure that it is consistent from batch to batch.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the thing that you do there is absolutely unique. I don't know any company, except a few of ours that we have custom-make things, that is actually testing every batch to make sure the biomolecules are at the precise concentrations in that narrow window every single time. Nobody else does that, including the copycat companies like Extendivite, Heart and Body, and et cetera, et cetera. All these other companies trying to copy Cardivite, which are inferior. And then we tell people that's why you got ratings, special ratings in Canada and Australia, where there's no comparison. I mean, that's why no other companies can get the ratings and the certification that it actually does the things you say it does. That's what makes I'm so impressed with, is that it really does work. Now, of course, I tell people, some people are going to have to tighten up. I take 4 capsules twice a day. Some people, if they're a small female, they need 1 capsule 3 times a day is plenty. So, depending on your size and your metabolism, if you're a big person or if you require more, that's fine. And you can adjust that by measuring on the back of your tongue. You can get these Berkeley, Berkeley test strips for nitric oxide. And then, of course, we're working at this technology. You can measure your blood pressures. You can do a thing called a capillary blanch test. You literally pinch the nail fold of your thumb, and you count 1 end, 2 end, 3 end, and your circulation should come back by 1 end, 2 end. If it takes longer than that, it means your microcirculation is not too good. If it's still white after 3 ends, like, man, you're in trouble. That's real simple, isn't it? If it's,
absolutely.
You press it, it goes nice and it goes white. You press it, it should go pink by one end. If it does like one end, you're good. Like I'm just checking mine right now while I'm on air. Mine's one end and bam, my circulation's back. If you're one end, two end, you're marginal. If you're one end, three end, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. Because that means your return of microcirculation after your arteries are compressed, like, if you put a cuff on, and this is the basis for this test technology out of Houston, it actually measures the capillary return and the metabolism of the artery wall, which the cardiovascular supports, that restores peristaltic spasm, nitric oxide metabolism of the capillaries, etc. That's how important this is. Amazing, eh?
It is, yeah.
So, testimonials. I mean, I have so many, it's amazing. People who've had previous strokes don't have strokes anymore. Heart attacks, their arteries clear up. People have had a bypass and they don't want to reblock their arteries. I mean, a lot of people, they think, I have a bypass, I'm good to go for the rest of my life. Not. If you had a bypass, you have arteries now from your legs that have been transplanted up, or veins from your legs have been put up in place of coronary arteries, and you got like a bunch of little hoses on the outside of your heart connecting where the artery was from the blockage to the area beyond the blockage. That's what they've done. They stuck these little hoses. So if you looked at your heart, you'd say, oh my gosh, it looks like I'm an alien. I've got these little hoses attached. Those are vessels from your leg. Now, you can block those off really easy. So anybody who's had a bypass or a stent, if you're not on cardiovasc, you don't need your heart examined, you need your head examined. You need to be on it. What do you think?
Absolutely.
That's how important it is. Cardiovasc for life is what we should say. You started, you want to live, especially in this toxic world with all the cardiac and vascular stress. You want to be on cardiovasc. Thank you for Reed. You've done an excellent job as always. Stay right there. We'll get you booked up for next time. And back in hour 3, Tim Alexander. Coming up tomorrow, Harley Schlanger and Jonathan Gray will be back. A major update, of course, of his book, Dead Men's Secrets Update. Lots of other ebooks available. We'll be back in a moment with Tim Alexander, and your questions in any hour except the first hour Friday are wide open. Open lines, 800-259-5791. Thank you for Reed. Stay right there.